Good morning, everybody. We're going to make some homemade granola that is really so good. We're going to dive in. I'm just going to give it a couple of minutes. Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday. You made it through your work week. Maybe you're working Saturday, I don't know, but welcome to Saturday. I hope everybody had a great night's sleep. I did. Hubby, not so much. I sleep really well most of the time, and he struggles with sleep, so hopefully tonight he will have a much better night's sleep. But let's dig right into this granola. My oven is already preheated to 350. If you're cooking along, I did mention on the invitation that all these recipes are on tkfoodie.com, and so if you wanted to buy the ingredients, you could cook along with us. So I have started in here, I've got my oats, 4 cups of oats. You want to make sure you use old-fashioned oats. Don't use instant, because that'll just kind of turn to mush, and don't use steel cut, because they'll be way too chewy, very chewy, very chewy. So I've got my oats in here, and then I need to start with coconut oil. This is a healthy recipe because it just uses some coconut oil and some honey as a natural sweetener. You could use maple syrup if you wanted to, but I'm almost out of coconut oil. I didn't check the how much I had left. We need a half a cup of coconut oil, and I'm going to melt it in the microwave. I just hope I have enough. If not, I'll overcompensate with the honey probably, but it just gives you that really sticky base to hold your granola together. Come on, we gotta have a half cup here. I think I'm pretty close. Note to self, order more coconut oil. I get mine through Thrive Market. I'll link a code when I post this after video on TikTok. I'll link a code because you can get some awesome freebies plus 30% off your first order if you too order from Thrive Market. I'm going to melt this very quickly in the microwave. If you don't have a microwave, you can do it stovetop. It doesn't take very long. I got some on my hands. Coconut oil is a great moisturizer. Just like that. No muss, no fuss. So I do utilize my microwave for a lot of things like this, melting things, reheating things. It makes very quick work. If you're making chocolate, melting chocolate, like we're going to do in just a minute, you can use your microwave for that too. Okay. All right. So you can see it was pretty warm before, but now it's melted. And then, do I have a half cup? Yes, yes I do. All right, now you need the equal amount of your sweetener of choice. I'm going to use honey. This is a raw organic honey that I got from a farmer's market. Actually, I was traveling in Indiana. It's from my mom's farmer's market, but so I'm going to have a total 1 cup of liquid. So I've got coconut oil and the honey, and then you're just going to mix it all up with the oats. Super simple. Put that aside. And then I need a little bit of cinnamon, about a teaspoon. I kind of guesstimate on this. And the same for vanilla. I usually use vanilla paste. I love vanilla paste, but just a dash of vanilla, and I get that from Thrive Market too. Just give it a good mix, and then we're going to add in our nuts and our fruits, and at this point you can do anything you want. Sometimes in my granola I add chia seeds, or I add some ground flax, just to give it an additional bump of protein, or flax has great omega-3s in it. But we're going to keep this very, very simple. Okay, that's a pretty decent mix. Then we need about 1.5 cups of nuts. Now I bought kind of a big pack of, and these are unsalted. We'll start with this. Now you can use a knife to just roughly chop your nuts, or one of these. I got this from Pampered Chef. It's a great, you chop nuts, you chop herbs, and it's kind find it easier because when you try to do this on a board, you know, your knife sends your nuts flying everywhere. I'm gonna get my food mover. Put that in there. And I want just a few more nuts. You want to end up with about 1.5 cups of nuts. Because you know, that's part of what makes granola so amazing. So, that's about good. Set that aside. Give it another chop with this great food chopper. Easy peasy. And then something sweet. I like my granola with some dried fruits. And so I'm actually going to add, I love goji berries in this actually, but I have golden raisins. And you need about 1/2 cup of your dried fruit. So pick the fruit of your choice if you like cranberries, dried cherries, chopped up apricots, dried apricots, or dates. It just works. Whatever you want to do with this. I might have mentioned I add peanut butter powder to this sometimes to give it that really good flavor and an additional bump of protein. But just keeping it simple this time. I want to make sure this gets a really good mix. You see how easy this came together. And you're going to have some amazing granola. All right. These things aside. Then here's my baking sheet, and I've lined it with parchment paper. Very important because if you don't, your granola is just going to stick. So all of it goes out onto the baking sheet. And then just spread it out very evenly. As evenly as you can. So you're going to bake this for a total of 20 minutes, but I'm going to set my timer at first for 10 minutes because you need to kind of stir this and flip it halfway through. The first time I made this, I didn't do that. Big mistake. So make sure you take that extra step because everything on top is going to get golden and underneath will still be blonde and unbaked, uncooked. So you give it an opportunity once you mix it up and you're turning all that blonde over to the top. And that gets golden too, so your granola is more evenly cooked. So, into my 350 oven for 10 minutes. Set my timer. Okay, I'm gonna move this aside, and then we have time to make some crazy easy chocolate bar. I just need to tidy up a skosh. If you're cooking along, you have an opportunity to do so too. Okay. Here we go. I'm going to flip the board over. Got sticky stuff on it. Here's everything I need for this crazy easy chocolate bar. And I start with dark chocolate. Now, I really like the Moseroth Aldi brand, and unfortunately they haven't had super dark. They've had 70%, it's been about the darkest they've had lately. At my Aldi, they've been running out of a lot of stuff. Bacon, all kinds of things. So I want to melt this chocolate in the microwave, and I want to kind of break it into shards before I do that. This part's really easy. And you can do this on stovetop if you don't have a microwave, but I recommend that you do it over like simmering water, like you would put a small pot with water, put this bowl over it, because direct heat and chocolate don't mix very well. Excuse me, don't mix very well. I'm breaking my chocolate up because the smaller pieces will melt more quickly. And you want to do this in kind of, I'll do this for a minute first, but then 30-second increments after that. just so you don't scorch your chocolate, because I've done that before too. Learn from my mistakes. You won't make the same ones. All right, so there's my chocolate. We'll do a minute in the microwave while I get my toppings ready for my Crazy Easy chocolate bar. So I have a tray, also lined with parchment paper, because that's going to make it really easy when you pull this out of your freezer. You're going to freeze it for probably 10 minutes, since that's our time frame here. And it will be really easy to just like pull off the parchment and kind of break it into shards. It's delicious to snack on. There's nothing else added to this. In my recipe on tkfoodie.com, I have the addition of like Earl Grey tea or lavender. If you want to go really exotic, you can do that to this chocolate. I'm just keeping it real simple for the purposes of our Crazy Easy chocolate bar today. But that's all you need to do. And this was one bar of, or one package of the chocolate. This is 4.4 ounces. So basically, buy your favorite dark chocolate bar, and this is all you need to do. Also, if you buy like a 90% or 100% bar, you can add, if you want it a little bit sweeter, you can add something to it, like a little bit of coconut sugar or something more natural. All right, you can see that this is starting to melt. And I think with the residual heat, I probably am not even going to need the additional 30 seconds on there. We'll see. But we love dark chocolate, and I have found that we're literally eating like 100% or 90% dark chocolate. And it's just really, if you have a chocolate craving, that will smash it. That will smash it for sure. My husband battles diabetes, so we always try to keep everything really low sugar around here, even though we have occasional treats, but I think that did pretty good. Pretty good. All right, so I'm just gonna spoon this out onto the parchment, and then we'll spread it around. And this is really fun to make for gifts. You can put like peppermint crunch on here on the holidays. I love like pistachio and cranberry, and especially around the holidays, around Christmas, the red and the green are so pretty. But whatever fruit nut combination you want, pumpkin seeds, flaky sea salt. I'm gonna have salted pistachios on this, so I'm not gonna add any flaky sea salt, but you could do that. All right, then I just need to spread this out. You can spread it out pretty thin. Pretty thin. I think that should be good. Just like that. Oh no, I have some on my finger. Okie dokie, let's see. Where are my pistachios? Salted pistachios. Do you say pistachio or pistachio? I feel fancy when I say pistachio, I guess. Hey, if anybody has a really good dairy-free pistachio ice cream or gelato recipe, send it to me, please. I've been experimenting and I haven't been successful yet. Okay. That looks pretty good. Can you see? And then I'm gonna do some dried apricots. And the easiest way to do this for me is snip them right over the chocolate bark. And I really like my chocolate bark loaded. Trying to get one piece right there. That was 2, here's 3. I have 5 apricots, that might be sufficient. But you can see how fun this can be. And this is great for kids too, because you can involve them and they can put their own toppings on here. You might want to go crazy and put a bunch of sprinkles. All right, I think I'm good on the chocolate front. How's that look? Pretty darn good. I'm gonna put this in my freezer, and I think by the time we're ready with the additional 10 minutes, I think this will be frozen and ready, or not frozen, but it'll be solid and ready for me to break it into shards and show you what it looks like. In the freezer she goes. Okay, and I've got about 3 minutes until I need to flip my granola. So again, let me tidy up. If you're not following along on our YouTube channel, we would love it if you would like and subscribe. We're at TaylorKitchen 5226. I do a ton of cooking videos, but we also like to travel both locally and internationally. So I do those kinds of videos too. We haven't traveled internationally in a while, but went to Hawaii back in February. So there's some video of that. And we just took a mini trip to North Carolina over Labor Day weekend. So I have a little video of the Harrah's Cherokee, North Carolina River Valley Resort and Casino. And we ate at Gordon Ramsay's kitchen when we were there, which is kind of a new restaurant for them. They're developing their property, and it's become much nicer than it used to be. So great restaurant. We just love it. This is the second time we've been there, and we will go back. So 22 seconds. I think it's okay to pull it out, and we'll flip it. All right, so you can see it's starting to become, here's my Christmas, heralding in Christmas already. It's becoming golden on top, and I'm just gonna basically mix it up, flip it over to where you see that it's kind of blonde on the bottom, and you want to expose as much of that surface as you can, so when you put it back in the oven for the final 10 minutes, it's just gonna be so good. Now, if you're using coconut in this, don't add the coconut until the last 10 minutes right here because it'll burn. Sometimes pecans can do that as well. So if you're using pecans in your nut mix, it might be safer to do that towards the end. Although I've had success adding them in the beginning. It just, if your pecan halves or so forth are bigger, don't chop them up super fine. They just tend to, they're a fattier nut, so they tend to burn. Okay, you can also add chocolate chips at this point, and then really, really let it cool because you'll have all this chocolate yumminess. Or you can add them even after because it's warm enough. It'll just kind of melt a little bit in, and the chocolate bits will adhere to the granola. So I think that's okay. I've mixed it up. I've gotten as much of the underneath exposed as I could. You don't have to be super precious about it, but this goes back in for another 10 minutes. And while we do that, I have time for a matcha. Ta-da! It's all the good matcha stuff. All right, the kettle just boiled. Now, if you are looking for a good matcha, you want to really investigate your matcha because it needs to come from Japan. And typically, like a sencha matcha or a ceremonial matcha is going to be the best grade. And I've read you can just depose this if you want to, but that if you buy it from China, it's loaded with lead. So I'm really careful where I source my matcha. And this, you can see the beautiful color. Matcha is just a lovely, it's a green tea that's powdered. It's made into a powder, so it's really easy to dissolve in a liquid. And it just makes a super delicious drink. I absolutely love it. But there's so many matcha versions. Like there's a matcha, kind of like a cafe that's off of Pleasant Hill Road in Atlanta in an Asian market. And they have the most sublime matcha and all different matcha things. Matcha soft serve, and it's just all things matcha basically. So it's a lot of fun. And here I'm just going in with a teaspoon. Now dissolving the matcha, super important. I'm gonna put this back in before I elbow it and knock it off. Dissolving the matcha is super important. Now this is a traditional matcha whisk. I'm gonna make an iced matcha. If you wanted to do a hot matcha, you would do all this in a cup, and then you can use this, or I'm gonna go modernista and use this little handheld frother. Totally up to you, but this, if you're going to put the hot water into a glass, make sure it's not a very fragile glass like a mason jar, or something real sturdy like this is not going to, burst from the heat. And this typically has done very well for me. And I just put a little bit of this hot water and then give it a blitz. And it just blends very, very easily. And these frothers are so inexpensive. You can get them for under $20. Sometimes you can find them for $9.99. Okay, and this is my addition. You definitely don't have to do this. My daughters right now would be like, gross, no, rose water. Be thankful I'm not adding lavender. That's a thing. Lavender matcha is a thing. And it's really good. But this is just a teaspoon of rose water. Rose water is super strong. More of a Middle Eastern vibe. And I really love it. But I'm going to give it another little bit of a blend. Okay. All right, so the rose water and the matcha all blended up, and then I'm going to add your milk of choice. This is what I use. Lately, I have been loving these nut pods. This is French vanilla, and it's totally unsweetened, and it's dairy-free. I have to go dairy-free. So I will add some of the nut pods, and this will kind of froth up a little bit. So I'm going to blend it again. Totally optional. You don't have to do that, but it just makes for a nice frothy drink that is quite delicious. You can see it just adds a lot of air into it when you use this handheld frother. You see it's expanding in volume. It's probably pretty good. And then I'm just going to drop some ice in here. I don't have any fancy cubes right now, just going from the fridge. And I don't like sweetener in my matcha. If you want a sweetener at this point, you might want to add some honey or blend it in actually when you're frothing the matcha. Honey, maple syrup. Maple syrup is fabulous. Actually, I have a maple tahini latte that you might want to check out on tkfoodie.com. It is so wonderful. If I'm going to drink a coffee drink, that's what I'm going to do. And then just a splash more of milk. This is almond milk from Aldi, and give it a taste. That's really nice. And this is just a basic matcha. And I like them iced kind of in the summertime. It's hot. And actually, I'll tell you a story, because this glow on me is sweat. Our air conditioning went out last night, right before we were having company, nevertheless. So I'm like, oh, first of all, let me go find the lightest weight clothing that I have in my closet and put that on. And I texted our guest, say, hey, the main level is really hot. And I planned on cooking things that needed an oven. So of course the oven is going at 400 degrees for an hour. And the house is like, okay, it's 88 and climbing. But it's still, we haven't had, thankfully we have a different unit for each level of the house. So we kind of impromptu switched our dinner plans to have dinner in the basement, which worked out perfectly well. My hubby, bless his heart, he like cleaned, and we put up a card table down there, and I tried to decorate it nicely and put a tablecloth over it, and it ended up being perfectly fine because it's nice and cool down there. It's also nice and cool upstairs where we sleep. But this level, which it is right now today, super hot. Again, I'm running my oven, but I didn't want to cancel this live event. So I thank you all for joining in. And I hope you'll check out more of tkfoodie.com. I hope you'll check out our YouTube channel, our Instagram, all the things, because I put out lots of different content, and sometimes I put out different content on other platforms that doesn't always make it to TikTok either. And same for TikTok and vice versa with the other channel, but we have pretty much all the socials going on. My hubby has a phenomenal YouTube channel for music that is inspirational, uplifting. It's great to check out. TMT Music 791, is that right, babe? 791. So check him out, give him a subscribe, give him a thumbs up. It really, when you talk about YouTube, it really helps out your channels if you support one another with a thumbs up, and leave a comment. Especially the algorithms on YouTube pick up comments. So we really appreciate getting those. Hope you make one of these matchas. I have a mint matcha recipe on my site that I really like, especially like it in the winter, even though mint, you think of summery things, but it's a warm matcha that you infuse the mint as you're making your matcha stovetop, which I do a lot. I also like turmeric lattes. I have a couple of great recipes in chai on my site too. So if you're one for fun drinks like that, there's a lot of those on tkfoodie.com, just to kind of whet your appetite for that. And if you go to tkfoodie.com, make sure you leave your email, because we'll send out notifications and email things. I have an Etsy shop that I'm doing some clearance stuff on right now, and I've actually, I can sell them directly through my website as well. So if you're interested in any of those items that I am getting rid of, that physical clearance, you can find that out on tkfoodie.com. So we have 55 seconds. So what is everybody going to do the rest of the week? Who has the most fun plans? I don't think we have anything. Oh, well, we do have a fun thing planned this week. We're headed to our niece's reception in Michigan later in the week. So that'll be awesome. We'll get to see family. We rented a cabin there. We're just going to hang out with family for 3 days and have a great time. So looking forward to a little time away. That'll be good. Looking forward to getting the air conditioning fixed. That'll be good. It's hot in Georgia, folks. Yesterday was so hot. I don't know why. Why gotta be so hot? Babe, do we have any questions I can answer? Okay. I'd love to answer questions. Leave me some questions. Oh, here we go. All right, folks, that is our granola. Now you have to let this cool completely. Make sure I turn my oven off, because she's Louise. Make sure you let this cool completely, because then you'll be able to break it apart and you can put it in an airtight container. It will keep for quite some time in your pantry. This is great to give it as gifts. I give it as gifts all the time. I put it in like mason jars, put a cute little bow on it. And when you doctor it up with however you want, it's just the most precious gift to give to people. They don't expect it. And it's really delicious. I've had so many people tell me this is the best granola they've ever had. I even had an estate where they were getting their granola from a local baker, and they said, we'd rather have your granola. And I'm like, well, I don't live in the same state as them, or else I would consider being their supplier for sure, because then I'd have to ship it to them and it might not be as fresh. But anyway, there we go. Let it cool completely and break it up into pieces. You're gonna love this granola. Absolutely gonna love it. Okay, now we need to check out the chocolate. I hope it's had time sufficiently to freeze. I think it has. Oh yes, it looks like it has. That is perfect. And this board is a little warm for me sitting the granola on it, and I don't want to warm up my chocolate. I'll move this aside. Okay. There is your crazy easy chocolate bar. Yummy, yummy, yummy. There you go. Delicious. I'll break this up. We'll snack on it. Hubby wants some. There you go. He's like, don't leave me out. He's moderating for me. Okay, this is so good. All right, guys. All these things that we've made today are on tkfoodie.com. Now, thank you so much for checking out my TikTok live. I hope you'll join us on the next one. And please leave a comment. Let me know what you want to see us make in future episodes. These live TikTok lives. Let me know what you want to see us make. And we'll check you out in the next session. Have a wonderfully blessed day.